Welcome everyone to our meditation town hall. So nice to have you here today. Appreciate you spending your next hour with us. And I'd like to start with a couple of announcements. I'm Menla, and draw your attention to our upcoming residential retreat, which is March 17 to 22nd in the beautiful Sarah Retreat Center in Malibu. If you can join us, that would be great. Yesterday, we had a great masterclass on mudita, and this one, number 7, is on Tonglen, and that's on March 9th. So remember, you can purchase the whole series, or you can take it as one class. If you check the chat, you will see that it has all the information in there and the links for those things. So please see if you can join us in the next couple of months. Today, we are very fortunate to have Kelley Amadei with us. She is one of Lama's senior students and has led town hall many times in the past, and we're so fortunate to have her with us here today. And her words of wisdom is always down to earth, so I will turn it over to Kelley. Thank you, Kelley, for being here.
Thank you, Menla. Good morning, everybody. Always so wonderful to see you all. Just sort of looking around to see who we have here. Thank you, Menla. Thank you for the announcements. Thank you for everything you do always. We wouldn't be here without her, as much as we wouldn't be here without Lama. So gratitude to Menla. Once you arrive again in your seat, whatever that is. Just noticing what happens when you set the intention to arrive. Take a deep breath. One of the first things I notice is I'm always anticipating something. And when I'm anticipating something, I come out of the moment. So just be here right now and allow yourself to be in the unknowing of what's about to happen. Menla, can you please pull up a refuge in bodhicitta? And we'll begin chanting in Tibetan and then in English. And one of the beautiful things about our Dzogchen practice is there are no rules. So if the Tibetan doesn't resonate with you, just listen. Sanje chodang suki chuknam la janchu pardu daki kyapsu chi daki jinsok jipe sonam ki drola penchir sanje drupar shok In Buddha, Dharma, and supreme spiritual community, we go for refuge until fully enlightened. By the power of all six perfections, from generosity to non-dual wisdom, for the sake of all beings, may we realize Buddhahood. Go down to the four immeasurables. May all beings possess happiness and the inner causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the inner causes of suffering. May all beings remain undivided from the sacred joy which is free from suffering. May all beings come to rest in great peace and equanimity, beyond attachment and aversion to friends, enemies, and strangers. Bless us and empower us that our minds and hearts turn toward the Dharma. Bless us and empower us that our Dharma practice becomes the path. Bless us and empower us that the path truly dispels confusion. Bless us and empower us that confusion itself dawns as primordial wisdom. Thank you, Menla. Bless us and empower us that confusion dawns as wisdom. Bless us and empower us that all beings are free from suffering. If you've been around for a while, those are words we say all the time. Those are prayers, those are intentions we make. If you practice every day, if you're just here weekly. And I've been really trying to slow down and be with the meaning of those words. What is the suffering that we all need dispelled? What is the confusion that causes our suffering? What is the confusion that we pray transcends us into primordial wisdom? And so as I was preparing for today's teaching, I thought about the sort of beginningless beginning. Where did it all begin? As for those of us who are here in human form, what was the source of our confusion? What was the source of our suffering? And I started to think back to being born. And I don't know about you, but I have memories sometimes that I'm not so certain they're memories as much as reconstructed stories about what I think might have happened. That I have this memory, I have this feeling in my body of coming into form, right? Because at our essential level, we are consciousness and form. And when we came into this life, which we all came into this life in, one of a few ways. Nobody came into this life without coming through their mother in some way. And we came into this life being at one, and suddenly, gasping for air, we have our first instance of separateness. So we come into this life and we feel the unity and the oneness, not separate, consciousness. And immediately, we feel this sensation of separateness. And then immediately, or sometimes not so immediately these days, we're being told we're separate and we're given a name. We are given a name and an identity. First of all, we're given identity as he or she. It's a girl or it's a boy. It's usually the first thing you hear. So now we're separate. We're a separate form. And then we're given a name. And if we're lucky, we're claimed by a parent or parents. And thus the conditioning begins. The conditioning begins as these helpless infants who are reliant on the generosity and love of whoever it is that's caring for us to meet our needs. And as that conditioning continues, we begin to learn that in order to be safe, we need to belong. And in order to be safe, one of the things we begin to do is try to make others feel safe. And we begin to be labeled as this or that, not this or not that. We get identified, we get labeled. And over time, we begin to form a false, separate identity. I'm not going to go into any philosophy here or Buddhist academics, but just at an essential moment in time, we are told we're separate. And at least for me, in my memory, that's the beginning of where the suffering began. Beginning of scrambling to be that which other people needed me to be, to get my basic needs met. And so just as our human being becomes more being, we get caught in the cycle of suffering, of attachment, and of aversion by the mere fact of being humans. Nothing we can do about that. And then once we're a somebody, we're no longer everybody. We're no longer everyone. No, we're no longer everything. And once we're told we're a somebody, we begin to feel the separateness from the whole. And the feelings of loneliness start to creep in. The feelings of fear start to creep in. And those forces around us, our cultural conditioning, our human conditioning, those are big, powerful forces. And if you're here because at some point on this path of being a human, you've had the yearning, the longing, the desire to be open and curious about what else is possible, what else is out there, what else might be true other than this idea of separateness. And how do I start to get in touch, remember what it feels like to be one, to be everything? And that separateness, initially, it makes us feel small. And we yearn to find something to latch onto, to grasp onto, something that we can know, something that we can rely on, something to make us feel safe so we can keep being humans, especially when we're babies. There's no way to keep being human if you can't rely on somebody. And the busier we become being human, the more separate we become, the more we perpetuate the separateness, reinforcing that false duality. So when I act from that separateness, I experience suffering and I create suffering. Even in my attempt, as the oldest daughter, even in my attempt to always be the good girl, I was somebody doing something, and I was creating my own suffering and suffering for those around me. My little sister would tell you I created lots of suffering for her because I was trying to be good all the time. So it made her feel like everything she did was bad. So we immediately start to separate. And as we start to walk this path of coming home, and that's the way I think about it, is what is the Buddhist path? And you don't even have to identify as a Buddhist. What is this path of being? This path of being is having a moment of recognition that there's something else, and I can come home to who and what I really am, which is a part of everything. And we begin to recognize that there's more than one plane of existence. There's more than one plane of awareness. And so things start to get divided into this and not that. Attraction, yes, this makes me feel good. Aversion, this doesn't make me feel good. And as we continue to walk the path of not knowing, of curiosity and of openness, we can begin to create some space, some freedom in seeing things as they are. It's seeing that attraction is just that, it's attraction, and aversion is just that, it's aversion. Accepting all of it as is. And what I believe we're here to do is to recognize and transcend this sense of separateness. To remember our truer nature, our truest nature, our only nature, our innate nature, that which is Rigpa, our innate goodness, our Buddha nature. Our Buddha nature is like the sun in the sky, and our feelings of separateness are like the clouds momentarily covering the sun. That moment of birth, that moment of recognition that we're separate, it's just a cloud momentarily covering the essence of what's always been there. Our Buddha nature does not come and go. It's not something we have to go find. It's not something we have to put on. It's not something somebody else can give to us. It has been there within us. It is us from the beginningless beginning. And our work is to recognize where it's obscured. It's our momentary confusion and ignorance. And if you're like me, you're like, well, it's more than momentary. It happens all the time. It happens every day. It's not. So our Dzogchen practice is a path. There are so many paths, right? But our Dzogchen practice is a path to remembering who and what we really are. It's a practice, it's a path of direct experience. And what meditation allows us to have is a direct experience. It's not a report from somebody else as to what's happening. It's a stillness. It's a wisdom. It's an openness. You can use your own words. It's a direct experience with what is. And our teachers along the path, like Lama Surya, are there to help point us in the right direction. Right isn't even the right word. In a direction to allow us to have a direct experience, to know for ourselves who and what we really are, and who and what everybody really is. So it's not like we're sitting here on the Sunday meditation town hall and we have more Buddha. We are more Buddha than the people who are not here. Every sentient being is Buddha nature, perfectly innate, perfection. And our job is to peel off the obscurations that have confused the truth of our being. And nobody can tell you you are that. Even I can't tell you you are that. I can tell it to you right now as I'm trying to. but only you can get in touch with the essential feeling of it. There's a term in in Buddhism in general, but in Dzogchen, called the self-existing awareness. Self-existing awareness is the path. Self-existing wisdom. Awakening only happens by self-existing wisdom. It's the only path that leads to true awakening. Nobody else can tell you. You have to know it for yourself. And there's not one big awakening. There's not one big moment where you catch it, you've got it, and you've got it forever. As Lama says all the times, many quickies. Right? So you may be, it may not even happen sitting in meditation. It may happen sitting at the edge of a cliff overlooking the ocean. It may happen looking in your child's eyes. It may happen on a walk with your dog. And it's like, when it happens in that moment, it's like you've been sitting in a dark room and the light is turned on. And in that instant, all the darkness is dispelled. In the moment where we have a recognition of our truest nature, we can't unknow it. You press the switch and the darkness disappears. Well, and if you're like me, the switch turns back off. And then you're like, oh, here I am again, stuck back in confusion. So our work here, our path is to stabilize that and to have more moments, create more moments where we have recognition of our self-existing wakefulness. And it's essentially, as Lama Hohoi says, there's Buddhas who are awake and there are Buddhas who are asleep. But there are not no Buddhas. You're either asleep or you're awake, moment to moment, to moment to moment. So part of getting to that heart wisdom is first recognizing our essence. And then we endeavor to sustain that recognition. That's our training. That's the discipline. That's sitting every morning. That's doing your ritual practices. That's Nundro. That's any practice that you do that creates the space for you to continue to recognize and sustain that recognition of who you really are, of your oneness. I've been thinking a lot about Tukul Rinpoche, who his Parinirvana day was last week. I think it was last Sunday during our town hall. And he talks about our essence as being like a seed of a flower. First, you have to know you're a seed. And when you look at a seed doesn't feel all that special. It's just a seed. But if that seed gets planted and watered and cared for and it gets sunlight, all of a sudden it starts to grow. And it grows leaves and it grows a stamen and it grows petals. And so for the seed, the training is the watering, the nurturing, the care, and the love, and the sunshine that allows it to become what it was always meant to be. That seed is never going to be anything other than exactly what it was meant to be. That acorn that falls off the oak tree is never going to grow into a willow tree. The seed is exactly what it's always meant to be. It's just in a different form. And when that seed fully blooms, it's its fullest expression of itself. It's spectacular. It's amazing. And what I think, at least when I started out on this path, what I was hoping for was spectacular and amazing and sustained. I was hoping to have these samadhi moments that would be mind-blowing. And what I've learned is you can't expect that recognition of mind essence to be spectacular. But once we've loved it and nurtured it and cared for it and trained it, the sustaining of it, the sustaining of the expression, right? Because we have our essence, that's who and what we've always been, our Buddha nature. And then in our human form, it's the expression. And what we're trying to do on this path is align our expression with our essence. And so the more we train and the more we sit and the more we are in our way with that essence, the more the expression comes into alignment. So with that in mind, or out of mind, let's practice this. Let's sit. And let's see if we can cultivate enough love and compassion for ourselves to create some space to even have a mundane moment of recognition. It takes bravery to open to it and to practice opening. It takes bravery to sit and be still and be with the suffering and pain that is real. And to be with the joy and the love that is real. So assume your seat. And sit in whatever position feels the most true to you right now. Feel the seat rising up to support you. Feel your breath. Even just notice the origin of your breath. And feel it moving through your system. Just sitting, nothing else to do. Just breathing. Opening to all that is available to you right now. Open to noticing the quality of your breath. Open to who and what you really are. Breathing in with attention, and breathing out, relaxing into the moment. Just being. Allowing all that arises to arise. A thought that arises, a feeling that arises, a sensation that arises is arising out of you. It is also dissolving into you. Allow it all, and allow it all to dissolve back into its place of origin, your own essence. Nowhere to go. If you find yourself drifting, notice that that's a moment of recognition. Ah, I've drifted. This moment perfectly created to support your practice. Perfectly designed for your awakening. Who or what is noticing? Who or what is aware? You might say, I am aware. Well, who is I? Is I your feet? Is I your hands? Is I your skin? Is I your sight? Are you still there without your sight? What about your hearing? Who are you without your hearing? But maybe you are your breathing. Well, who or what is aware of your breathing? Well, then you must be your thinking. Who or what is aware of thought? Allow that sensation of I to expand. Turn into it. Turn the awareness in on itself. Breathe into it. Imagine a ball of light, tiny little ball of light. That is your awareness. And each time you breathe in and your awareness is aware, allow that light to expand. Allow it to expand beyond the limits of your body to the space around you. Allow all that arises to arise within that expanse of light, that expanse of space. And each time you feel an edge, lean into that edge, go just beyond it. Intrinsically beautiful, buoyant, and free. Beyond good and bad. Beyond right and wrong. On your next in-breath, breathe in deeply and hold. See if you can contain that life force. Hold it until it can't be contained. When you can't contain it any longer, release it all at once. And continue releasing until there's nothing left to release. And then hold. Until your life force naturally breathes in again. Breathing into the light. Breathing out the light. And now take that view, open, luminous expanse, and turn it back in on your awareness. Inside out and outside in. Beaming it into your being. It's like a pulse of light. As you breathe in, it beams into your awareness, and as you breathe out, it expands out into all space. The interconnected web of love and light and allowing. Just as you are. Our pure natural being, Rigpa, which existed before we saw ourselves as a self, before we perceived others, before we started to think of others as the source of our pleasure or our pain. Intrinsically beautiful, buoyant, free, and one with everything. Now, can you bring up page 11, please? You're welcome to chant along or just to allow the words to wash over you. The path clearing and wish fulfilling prayer of Padmasambhava. Dosum Sanjay Guru Rinpoche Nudrup Kundak Dewa Chen Poja Marche Kunsel Dudul Drak Posel Sawad Sojin Gilap Tu So Chinang Sangwei Barche Jiwadang Sampalunji Druparjin Gilo Dusum Sanjay Guru Rinpoche Nudru Kundak Dewa Chen Poja Barche Kunsel Dudul Drak Posel Sawad Sojin Gilap Tu So Chinang Sangwei Barche Jiwadang Sampalunji Druparjin Gilo. Precious guide, one with all the Buddhas of the three times, blissful presence and source of all spiritual accomplishments, fierce destroyer of illusion who dispels every obstruction, we pray to you for blessing, inspiration, and realization. Please remove all outer, inner, and secret obstacles and spontaneously fulfill our aspirations. Yewadi nududak zopa chenpo drupgyune drowa chikyang malupa deyi salagopar shok. Through this virtue, may we swiftly realize and fully embody the natural great perfection, and thereby bring all, without exception, to its complete realization. Losar Tashidalek. Happy New Year. Chinese New Year is also the Tibetan New Year. Any questions or sharing? We have a few minutes.
Kelley, don't forget to read what's in the chat. I'll
Okay.
be giving you some thank yous and love there.
Thank you, Mama. It's always nice to hear from all of you. And it's always nice to hear your sharing too, so please don't be shy.
We got about 1 minute if anybody wants to make a comment. I think, Kelley, what I like is that you always give us practical things to practice. When you said that meditation is a great way for direct experience to what is, and then tips to do that, I think that was great. So thank you for that. All right, so in the chat is the registration. Don't forget, we have Masterclass March 9th and retreat. And we're here every Sunday, so I hope you can continue to join us. It's a great way to practice together, feel a little connectedness, as Kelley was talking about. So have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Love to you all. Thank you.